snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, so I am here today to do another Kaitlin Recommends video, and today I'm going to be recommending you guys children's fantasy books. So these are all age appropriate for kids, they're all PG, and they are some of the books that I enjoyed either when I was a young child or since growing up I have just read them and still really love them. So I'm going to show you guys 10 different series, tell you a little bit about them in the hopes of getting you to go out and pick them up and hopefully really enjoy them. They're not in any order, by the way, they're just various different books that I would highly recommend. The first of them is Lockwood and Co., which is by Johnathan Stroud. This is an ARC copy, so I will put the real picture of what the real cover looks like on the screen somewhere for you guys to see. I really enjoyed this when I read it. It's a kind of detective series, but it's got supernatural elements to it. They are basically the psychic investigator agency and they have to deal with all sorts of paranormal and creepy things. It's a really well written book. I enjoyed this immensely. I didn't know anything about it. I won it in a Goodreads competition and I didn't know anything really about it. I'd never read anything by Johnathan Stroud, but this cemented a firm love in my heart for him. Even though this is the only book by him I've read, I now have a lot of his other books. I do own the second book in this series and it's waiting for me to read. I recently hauled that. But this series is just so much fun. I really enjoyed it and I cannot wait to continue on with it. Also cannot wait to pick up more of his other books because I think he's just a great writer and I'm sure that's going to carry through into his other series. I've heard a lot of good things about the Bartimaeus series, but this is the series I'm recommending to you because I've read it. And I ended up giving this book a 4 or 4.5 out of 5 stars, I can't quite remember which, but I really loved it. It's a great kids story, it's a lot of fun, there's a lot of adventure and mystery and the characters are really enjoyable. So I would definitely recommend this if you have younger kids or you want to read children's fiction. This is a great one. Next, I have a book that I am actually currently halfway through. This is the complete collection of the Alcatraz books by Brandon Sanderson. I've read the first one in here, which is Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians, and I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I love the sarcasm and the wit within these books. This is basically a really satirical and sarcastic kind of version of a fantasy book. The main character who we follow, called Alcatraz, is really sarcastic. He makes a lot of jokes that are quite heavy on the sarcasm. So I wouldn't say it's for younger kids, like really young, but it's definitely still appropriate for kids and it's so much fun. I enjoy these series immensely. I think they are hilarious. I'm currently halfway through the second book and really enjoying it, so I have no doubt that the third and fourth are going to be great as well, and I believe there is going to be a fifth one coming out sometime next year or the year after, so really love it. Of course I had to manage to slip in a Brandon Sanderson somewhere, but this one is a really good read and I would definitely say that there are a lot of really cool things. There are some sort of steampunky elements within this, like it's largely based around the idea of glass and sand, and those are kind of the powerful magical elements in this world, and they are really cool, so there are definite steampunk vibes, although I wouldn't call it a steampunk world. It's set in our world, but there's also another world. There's a lot going on in this book and it's a lot of fun. Then I have a really short book, and this one, as you guys can probably see, the cover is really cool because it changes. I don't know how well you can see it, but the cover changes. It's a hologram and it's like a nice guy and a nasty guy all at once. It's really short and it's beautifully bound. It's really cute. This is basically about a school where there are a few characters who we follow and basically everything goes wrong and a lot of paranormal, creepy things start invading the school, monsters, and some of the staff are not very nice and they are actually monsters as well, and it's basically about the kids and how they have to deal with that, and it's very short, a very easy read, and all of the covers have this kind of holographic feel to them, which is really cool. It's by Charles Gilman and I just think it's a fun series. I haven't read any further than the first book, unfortunately, but I definitely will be. 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely recommend this series to you guys if it sounds like something you want to check out. Next, I have a series that I'm sure loads of you guys will have heard of, and that is the Percy Jackson series, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which is by Rick Riordan. This is the first series of his, not the second one, which is I can't remember the name of it. I really love these books. I also love these editions. I think they're all beautiful. I've read the first 4, as you guys can see by me holding them up. I haven't read the 5th one just yet, but I do own it. I don't have it in the same edition as these, which is really disappointing. So hopefully I can buy it in this edition at some point. But I am really looking forward to finishing up the series. It's just a really fun series. It's about a group of children who are basically half gods. Their fathers or mothers are gods, and then their other parent is immortal. So they have kind of superpowers, but they're not quite as awesome as gods, and they basically have to deal with all of the stuff on Earth that the gods can't really be bothered to deal with. And it focuses on our main character Percy, and he's a lot of fun. There's some great characters in this, and the adventures that they go on are a lot of fun as well. I really enjoy this series. I think I gave most of them 4 out of 5 stars. I can't wait to finish it up and maybe move on to his second series as well, who knows, which I think is when they're a little bit older. But this one is the first one and it's a lot of fun, so I would definitely recommend this. And if you've not read it, don't know why, because it's very, very popular on BookTube, but I definitely would second that opinion and say that it is a good series and I enjoyed it a lot. Next, I have another series which I think a couple of you guys will probably have heard of. This series is the Septimus Heap series by Angie, and it starts with Magyk and then continues on with Flight, and there are a couple others in the series. I think there's quite a lot, 7 or 8 of them. I have only read the first 2. I really enjoyed the first one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The second one I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I do own the third one, so I'm sure I will get to it at some point. This is a series about a 7th son of a 7th son who is called Septimus, and we basically follow him as he tries to unlock his potential as a magician. And it's a really cute story. They're very, very light-hearted, very fun. The editions that I have are beautiful, the way that they are bound, and I really, really love the covers, which is what initially drew me to them when I saw them. I just think it's a really, really fun series. They're quite chunky looking books, but they're actually very, very fast to get through, so I would definitely say they're not hard, they're not difficult reads at all, and generally they're just a lot of fun and light-hearted goodness, which is always good to see, because sometimes reading epic fantasy, they're quite heavy, and light-hearted reads like these are great to break that up and give you a little bit of fun and excitement. Even though this is only 3 stars, it's still a really fun read in my opinion, and I definitely do want to continue on with the series, and I will be doing that at some point. Next, I have some books that I actually read on Kindle, so I'll just put a photo of that up for you guys, and the first one is the Edge Chronicles. I have only read one of the books in this series, which is by Poul, Stewart and Riddell, and I enjoyed it a lot. I read The Curse of the Gloamglozer, which is why I'm showing you guys. I think it's just really light-hearted and fun. It's set in a really cool world where there's floating islands and everyone lives on this big floating island, and there's pirates who can fly around, and we follow a main character who has basically always been a pirate, and then he gets called onto the land and he has to adapt to the way of life there, but also there's sort of monsters and things lurking, and he goes on a big adventure sort of trying to help out the person he's staying with, and it's a lot of fun. All of these books are quite a lot of fun because they're children's, they're just fun, exciting, vibrant, and that is why I love reading children's fiction, is because it's so much lighter and more enjoyable sometimes, and it's just like a breath of fresh air. And there's a lot of creativity in the Edge Chronicles. I definitely do want to continue on. I hauled 2 of them very recently, which I'm sure you guys can find on my last book haul or the one before, but I really am looking forward to continuing on with the series. Plus this one is illustrated, which is always a great bonus, because illustrations I think make the stories come to life so much more, and it's so much more fun. Definitely I would highly recommend this. I gave the first one a 3 out of 5, but that by no means I don't like it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it's just very light-hearted and enjoyable, and I think the rest of the series will develop where I felt it was a little bit lacking in development, so can't wait to read the rest of the series, can't wait to read more of the Edge books because the illustrations are just fantastic and the story is always a lot of fun. Then I have a Neil Gaiman book. This is the Graveyard book by Neil Gaiman, and it's a light-hearted, fun children's book. It's actually about a boy who lives in a graveyard, and he kind of talks to the ghosts of people who are buried there and things like that. It's so short, it's so sweet, it's got illustrations as well, I believe. It's just a really, really beautifully written book. It's got a lot of fun in there. We follow the main character of Bod, who is quite sweet, and he goes on a few adventures. And just generally the whole idea is a lot of fun. And Neil Gaiman I think is a great writer. He's very good at bringing to life all of these sort of wondrous worlds, and his writing is very ethereal and wondrous. So I definitely would recommend anything by him, but for a kid's read, this one was a great one, and I thought it was so sweet and lovely, so definitely I would recommend that to you guys, and I would love to hear what you guys thought of all of these books. If you've read any of them, I would recommend it to you guys. Next I have a good old classic, which is from way back. This is the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. I'm sure many of you, if you live in the UK, will have already read these. They are classics, essentially. They're kids' classic stories. They're a lot of fun. They're about a world where I think there's 4 or 3 siblings who basically find their way into a magical world going through a wardrobe in the second book, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. They have been made into films. The films are not great. The books are really good. I thought they were great when I read them. I can still remember them vividly and I still enjoy thinking about them. They're just great adventure stories. There's some awesome mythical characters such as talking lions and all sorts. Narnia is a completely different world. It is amazing. There's a lot of very cool stuff that goes on. There's some bad guys that need defeating. Again, just such a fun series. I don't know what I rated these because I read them when Goodreads wasn't even a thing, I think, like a long time ago, but they're just all fun reads. I'd probably give them a 3 or a 4 out of 5 stars at the moment because some of them are better than others. There's I think 7 in the series. I really enjoyed the first one, which is actually not as well known. Some of the later books go a little bit and I didn't love them quite as much. But they're all worth reading in their own right, and they are all a continuation of the story, and it's a lot of fun. So definitely I would recommend the Chronicles of Narnia to anyone who's not read them before. Narnia as a whole is a really magical place. So this series is one that you guys will probably have seen me talk about before. This is the History Keeper series by Damian Dibbens. I love this series. It's about a young boy who basically his parents go missing and he doesn't know what's going on. One of their friends comes and takes him and basically shows him that his parents are not really normal parents. They are actually time travellers, and he could also do time travelling through history if he wanted to by joining up with the History Keepers and basically protecting history against other people who are not so nice and want to go back and try and change things. So we have The Storm Begins, which is the first book, and then there are also 2 more currently out in the series, Circumus Maximus and Night Ship to China. I love them all. I gave the first one a 5 out of 5 stars and the second and third I gave 4 out of 5 stars or 4.5, and I really love this series. I think it's really well written. There's some great characters. There's some really funny moments within it that made me laugh out loud, and just the whole premise of time travelling and having a laugh is fantastic. You also get to see different periods of history really well depicted, so it's a lot of fun. Also educational and just a really great read overall. So again, another one I would highly recommend. And then the final series that I'm going to recommend to you guys is the Ranger's Apprentice series, which is by John Flanagan. I really enjoy these books. They're very short. I've only read the first 2, but I definitely want to continue on with this series because it is a lot of fun. It's just very enjoyable. It's basically about a young boy who becomes a ranger's apprentice, but it's so well written. It's just really light-hearted. The adventures that they go on are a lot of fun to read about. I believe there are like 12 in the series, so it's a pretty long series, but as I say, they're all pretty short books. I really enjoyed the first and second. I definitely want to continue on. I gave both the first and the second 4 out of 5 stars. I think they're really light-hearted. I think the characters are very inventive. Holt is one of my favourite characters. He's a lot of fun. He is actually the ranger himself, and just generally this series has a lot of good lessons and messages as well for kids to learn, but it's just really well integrated into the story, so it's a lot of fun to read, but it also teaches you not to bully people and things like that. And I think it's a great little series, and I'm so happy I discovered it because it's a lot of fun. Those are all of the series I'm going to recommend to you guys. I would love to hear your thoughts if you've read any of them. If you've not read any of them, will you be picking any of them up? Are you still enjoying this format? I definitely have a lot of plans of other ones that I will be doing, other recommendation videos. I will be doing fantasy ones. I'm going to film some of them in a minute, so hopefully you'll see them in the next few weeks. But I'm definitely excited about this whole Kaitlin Recommends series. It's a lot of fun to film, it's a lot of fun to think about, and I love hearing your comments when I've published the video as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon in another video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat about the